uh, bitumen being the crude derivative, as the prices of the crude oil increases, naturally the price of bitumen also which will go up, so resulting in the price risk around for the annual demand of bitumen is around 8 to 9 million metric tons per annum in India, of which around 40% of the bitumen is imported. So
Okay.
with the extended closure of the Strait of Hormuz, what might essentially happen is that the supply side of the bitumen may get impacted, leading to the overall disruption in the availability of the material as well. So the risk that we see is twofold. One is with respect to the price, and second with respect to the availability.
Hello and welcome to Macro Decode. The tensions in West Asia will possibly affect an unlikely sector, road and highway construction. The region is a key supplier of bitumen used in the construction of roads. Further, cement prices also are likely to go up, affecting the cost of construction. To give us more insights on this, we have Suryanarayanan S, analyst, India Ratings and Research. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
In your recent report, you say that prolonged war in Iran can pose a big challenge for roads and highway construction. Tell me how.
Okay. So bitumen is one of the key components that is used in the road construction, and bitumen acts as the binding agent, which provides the smooth riding quality for vehicles on the road. Bitumen, which is predominantly used in India, in the range of around 8 to 9 million metric tons per annum. We as a rating agency see the impact in two folds. One with respect to the price risk, and second with respect to the availability. With respect to the price risk, uh, bitumen being the crude derivative, as the prices of the crude oil increases, naturally the price of bitumen also which will go up. And secondly, with respect to the availability, for the annual demand of bitumen is around 8 to 9 million metric tons per annum in India, of which around 40% of the bitumen is imported. So with the extended closure of the Strait of Hormuz, supply of the bitumen may get impacted, leading to the overall disruption in the availability of the material as well. So the risk that we see is twofold. One is with respect to the price, and second with respect to the availability.
Okay. So, in terms of imports, which are the countries that are supplying bitumen to India and how much do they account to our total imports?
Yes. The major imports are from the countries of UAE, Oman, Iraq, and Iran. They are also constitute more than 95% of the overall bitumen that is imported. And they constitute around 35 to 40% of the overall bitumen that is domestically utilized.
Right. So, if imported bitumen will hit the construction of all roads and highways, or will it affect state and regional highways more than national highways?
On the execution front, maybe the period of February to June is essentially a peak construction season, given the climate wherein the rainfall is lower across the country, which is critical for bitumen laying. So during this period, if there is an impact on the supply, that may have an impact on the overall road construction activity. In a national highway project, the developers try to get bitumen from the major domestic suppliers. So so to maintain the consistency. So the state level or the regional projects typically tend to utilize the imported bitumen because they're lower as compared to a national highway project which requires a lot of bitumen material. So those projects depend on the imported bitumen. For the regional or the state level projects, the impact can be both on the price and the supply side. The state level or the regional projects go for the local domestic bitumen. That may lead to a increase in demand, naturally leading to increase in price. So that way, the national highway projects have a price risk, but from a state or regional highway projects, it is both supply and the price risk.
Right, right. So, do we have enough capacity in the domestic market to produce bitumen? Can we actually increase the production?
Typically, the bitumen again is a function of the crude throughput. So as the refining capacity increases, bitumen production also can be naturally increased. So that is an option, but historically there is a dependence on import of bitumen, and it has grown over the years. So
Okay, okay. So now that crude itself is not available, then probably we can't increase the domestic production.
correct. The throughput of crude is something which is key for the increase in the domestic bitumen production.
Okay. Are there any other source markets available from where we can procure bitumen, if not from the Middle East?
We are not sure on the other markets from where the bitumen is available. But
Hmm.
domestically, there are a lot of developments with respect to the biobitumen. There are certain projects where the government is trying to push for the utilization of the recycled bitumens as well. So that way, so the dependence on the import is something which the government is trying to address.
What is bitumen, and even if it's recycled, from what all materials it is recycled?
Biobitumen, agricultural waste is predominantly used for the creation of the bituminous materials.
Recycled bitumen.
Recycling bitumen, generally what happens is that whenever the milling activity takes place, the top layer of the road is generally milled out, and the bitumen that is that report from there we recycle and it can be used in products.
Okay. Even these new sources will not be able to replace the imports. Am I right?
When a new source is predominantly being utilized, the
Mm.
transition generally takes longer. So the government generally studies how the
Right.
loads which how the roads which are being laid using the new sources are performing, and then they tend to adopt it at a wider scale. So that is something that we need to understand. And secondly, the cost economics of the new sources of bitumen as well is something that we have to see.
Okay. So this could be only a long-term kind of strategy, not in the short term.
Correct.
Yeah. So now cement prices are also likely to go up with the pet coke prices shooting up. Can you elaborate on this?
Uh, from a roads
Hmm.
perspective, the structures which are predominantly being replaced,
Hmm.
which are being executed across the highway projects, have a large amount of cement utilization. So as the prices of the input materials for the cement are going up, there is
Okay.
a natural tendency of the cement prices also to go up.
Restricted availability of bitumen, higher crude oil prices, and cement prices, and also the availability and the cost of road projects. How much percentage increase can we anticipate going ahead?
So what we have tried to do an internal study on the HAM projects, especially the NSAA HAM projects. So what
Yeah.
we see is that the bituminous portion of the work generally forms around 8 to 12% of the overall project cost. So
Mhm.
naturally, price increase of say bitumen by 20 to 30 odd percent will lead to an
Hmm.
increase in the cost by around 1.5 to 2 odd percent, which essentially
Okay.
leads to a suppression in margin for the EPC developers.
Right. Okay. And if the war prolongs, do you anticipate a pause in road construction activities?
The NHA HAM projects are
Hmm.
executed over a period of say 2 to 2.5 years. So the bituminous work, which is essentially the topmost layer of the road, the
Hmm.
developers may naturally tend to complete the other works in the project, like the earthwork material, the structure aspect of things, and the
Okay.
utility system, and those aspect of things are something which the developers can continue working upon, and they can try
Oh,
to face the bitumen laying activity accordingly. So that is something which
okay.
the developers have a flexibility to work upon.
Right. But overall, if vitamin availability is not there, we will probably see the project prolonging. Am I right?
So that is something that we will continue to watch. I mean,
Hmm.
as of now, the vitamin. Whenever we discuss with the issuers, what we understand is that things are as of now stable, but
Hmm.
the uncertainty or when the things will return back to normalcy is something that they are also closely watching for.
So, if you look at the road and highway construction in FY25, the pace of construction had slowed down. Then, as per reports till February, national highway construction was behind its target in FY26. What led to this slowdown in the past 2 years?
As of third week of March,
Hmm.
the national highway construction stood at around 8,600 odd kilometers behind the target of around 10,000 kilometers.
Okay.
So generally, what happens is that the reasons for slowdown can be multifold, but government's focus has now increased on getting the ongoing projects completed. One. And secondly,
Hmm.
making sure the land requisite approvals are being made available upfront, so that once the project construction starts, there will be no bottlenecks that the projects will face. So it is twofold. One, the awarding has been slow because government was focusing more on the existing projects to be completed, and the projects which are being awarded also government wanted to make sure that the maximum land is being made available upfront, the requisite clearances are also being made available upfront, and government is also now trying to execute certain projects like access control highway or so wherein the complexity of the project is slightly higher than earlier. So
That is about FY26. What happened in FY25 if there was a delay in projects?
with respect to delay in projects, what we generally see is that the land availability in certain projects were an issue. The approvals with respect to certain environment, forest clearances, those things took time.
FY25, we had the elections. Did it affect the awarding activity and did it in turn hit the construction pace?
Once the model code of conduct is implemented, the awarding activity generally slows down, and post the completion of the post the completion of the general election, the awarding activity slowly picked up, and so naturally the awarding activity was slower during.
As you said, in FY25 and FY26, we have seen a slowdown in construction of roads and highways. What about FY27? Now that we are seeing a lot of things happening, the prices is there, the availability of bitumen, the availability of cement, the prices going up. We just discussed all these things. Do you think this slow pace would probably continue in FY27 as well?
Maybe the awarding activity will pick up going forward. And from a construction perspective, what if this situation kind of prolongs further overall impact on availability prices and the prices staying relatively higher, then we see a bit of slowdown in the execution, but that is something that we need to watch out for.
Right. So that was Mr. Suryanarayanan S, analyst with the India Ratings and Research, telling about how the West Asia crisis is affecting our roads and highway construction. Thank you for joining me in this show.
Thank you, Shilpa.